Good morning. Welcome to the October 21st, 2022 Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission Committee meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody in the audience, members attending. Before we get started and the adoption of the agenda, I need to add, you will see there has been a last minute 2-page packet that would be added to the, needs to be added to the agenda for waivers to attend another academy, 2 items for Cleveland State Community College. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda that any of the members have?
Dyersburg State Community College appearing.
Dyersburg Community State College appearing. We'll add, that'll be a 3rd item. And y'all will remind me at what point in time in the sections that we want to take those items up. Hearing no other additions or corrections to the agenda there, we will
make a motion to approve.
have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Administrative matters, I think we took some of that up. Roll call.
Take the roll. Commissioner Birchfield. Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Cherry. Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Forrester.
Here.
Commissioner Halsey. Commissioner Isbell.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Spangler.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Vice Chair Faulkner.
Here.
And Chairman Parton.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll go ahead with the disclaimer.
All post commissioners have previously agreed to recuse themselves from any vote that would constitute a conflict of interest. The most obvious of these would include issues that involve their own departments or some that they know personally. Because they've already agreed to do this, it should be noted that on routine matters, it will be assumed non-verbally that these commissioners have abstained from that vote. In bigger, more controversial issues that may have a more overt conflict of interest, that may have an appearance of impropriety, those applicable commissioners will still verbally abstain from those votes.
Thank you. We have the approval of the minutes for the September 16th minute or meeting. Any additions or corrections that need to be made to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Decertifications hearing held October 20.
All right, the informal committee meeting yesterday, we had 1 court order and post surrender from the Tennessee Department of Safety, Adam S. Story. That one was accepted by the informal committee. The Greenville Police Department with Cody D. Green, the motion was to approve on a default order. The subject was not present based on the termination from the police department, and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office, Daryl R. London. That was approved by the informal committee. It was a default order for his resignation in lieu of termination.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on the decertifications from yesterday's informal hearing? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Motion, second. Have a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to page 3 of the agenda, appearing before the commission. Waivers for pre-employment.
Columbia Police Department request reconsideration for a criminal record waiver for David Christopher Williams. On August 26, 2006, Mr. Williams was charged with DUI in Isla Vista, California. On September 27, 2006, Mr. Williams pled guilty to DUI. Mr. Williams has since satisfied all court-ordered fines and fees. On March 31st, 2012, Mr. Williams was arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct in Lake Elsinore, California. No further proceedings were held.
Thank you. Good morning.
Sir.
Can you identify yourself and give the commission what you're asking for?
Yes, sir. I'm Assistant Chief Jeremy Haywood, with the Columbia Police Department, speaking on behalf of Chief Alsop and our department. We are here with Mr. David Williams seeking a waiver for pre-employment requirements. As was previously stated, Mr. Williams was convicted of a DUI in 2006, 16 years ago, and disorderly conduct in 2012, 10 years ago. Through our employment process and through thorough background investigation and multiple interviews with Mr. Williams, we believe that he has exhibited actions that are consistent to show that these behaviors and actions from before were activity of his younger years, and he has matured past that and would be a good officer with our department. And we're seeking that waiver. And we believe that all of this activity is past activity for him that he is no longer involved in, and there won't be an issue for that concern.
Any questions for Assistant Chief, Columbia Police Department, the board, pre-employment investigation? If not, Mr. Williams, can you come forward, please? I think, has this been up here before?
I've been in front of the board in 2020.
In 2020. Can you kind of cliff note, we have before us the details of your situation, but if you could reiterate what you've been doing since you were here before in 2020, and kind of give the board an update as to what you're doing now and what you've been doing.
Yes, sir. Since my last appearance, the most notable change in my life has been we've added a new member to our family. We had our son Francis on August 3rd of 2021, so that was wonderful joy. Professionally, I moved on and worked in retail sales for a cellular phone company. Was employed there for about just a little over a year before deciding that that job wasn't filling my cup as far as what I wanted to do with my life. So I wanted to do something that would benefit the community that I served, and I decided to become a certified personal trainer and nutritionist in the hopes that I could make beneficial impact on people's lives in that area. I've always wanted to be a police officer, so that was something that was tough for me to swallow the last time around. I did reapply with the Columbia Police Department in the hopes that maybe this time around I could represent myself, make a better case for the waiver that we are seeking today.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Williams, in 2020, do you remember why we denied you?
I was not given a specific reason. I do have feelings on why I was denied. When asked about circumstances surrounding my DUI and my disorderly conduct charges, I was very report-oriented. What I did not convey to the board was the remorse and the lessons I've learned from those experiences. The DUI was unarguably the worst decision I've ever made. I put people in danger, and it was outside of my good judgment and my character.
And what's your drinking habits now?
I do not drink. It does not align with my desires or goals or aspirations for my life.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Have a motion to approve. Any seconds?
I got one more question to ask.
Commissioner Spangler, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Williams, I noticed the public intoxication, disorderly conduct, but it said no further proceedings. What happened with that?
I was arrested by the Lake Elsinore Sheriff's Department on public intoxication and disorderly conduct. They took me to a holding facility and released me in 12 hours. I would also like to add that I did learn valuable lessons in there as well. I interfered with law enforcement officers, and I was taking resources away from their department that could have otherwise been devoted to more important matters had I just exercised good judgment and not interfered.
So was that dismissed? Is that what they did, or?
I don't know that there was anything to dismiss. I didn't receive a ticket. I didn't receive any paperwork of any sort. I was put in the holding facility and let go after a 12-hour period.
motion on the floor. Commissioner Russell, does that motion still stand?
It is, I think 10 years has passed and it's plenty enough time for him to set a record for himself to show that he's not drinking anymore and becoming a better person, so that motion still stands.
Have a motion, have a second. Commissioner Wright, any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Here, one, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, East Ridge Police Department.
The East Ridge Police Department requests a military discharge waiver for Nehemiah Perez Santiago, hired October 7th, 2022. On December 20th, 2011, he was discharged from the United States Army Reserves with an under honorable conditions general discharge for failing of a drug test.
Thank you. Do we have somebody appearing for East Ridge Police Department this morning?
Chief Clint Usleton, East Ridge Police Department.
Good morning, Chief. Can you go over with the board this morning what you found in your pre-employment investigation?
About a dozen years ago, Nehemiah Perez Santiago was with the National Guard. He failed a drug test. He was let go with a general discharge under honorable conditions.
Okay. Any questions of the chief from the board? Do you have Mr. Santiago with you this morning?
That's correct, sir.
Sir, could you kind of give an explanation as to why you failed a drug test?
Yes. I got into the military in 2008. I had recently moved from Puerto Rico to the United States. I was living with my uncle at the time. I was 23 years old. I was very young back then. And I guess me and him, we were having a little bit of an issue when it came to me staying at his home. So I had to leave the home that I was living at the time. And at that time I was drilling in a unit in Connecticut. At the time I was living with my uncle. He lived in Massachusetts. So I had to relocate to Connecticut. Once I relocated to Connecticut, I was pretty much homeless, jumping from one place to another. And therefore I got involved with a bad crowd. I was young. I pretty much was on my own. And I guess I fell into their, the ways of, things that they were doing at the time. I was young. I wanted, I guess, to party back then. And I made the mistake of, consuming drugs at the time.
And if I may follow up, I guess from our perspective, this occurred a dozen years. Since then, Mr. Perez Santiago has finished his associate's degree. He was employed with the Cleveland State Police Department as a security guard up there. I can say I did receive a letter of recommendation from the chief up there that was probably one of the most glowing as far as a reference for a person as far as character and work ethic and everything else. And since then, again, he has completed his associate's degree. He volunteers with the Boys and Girls Club up in Cleveland, as well as is a mentor for incoming freshmen at Cleveland State Community College.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of the board?
I'll ask, what drugs were you taking, Mr. Perez Santiago?
At that time, I was taking marijuana and cocaine.
Thank you.
Mr. Isbell?
Chief, I assume in your background investigation, a drug screen has been conducted?
That is correct. He obviously passed with no negative results on a drug screen.
Commissioner Russell?
Mr. Santiago, how old were you at the time of this incident?
I'm sorry?
How old were you?
Were you when
I was about 24 years old. I'm 37 years old now.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Motion is second, discussion on the motion.
I have one other question. How long did you work for Cleveland State?
I worked for them for 2 years.
And what did you do before that?
Before that, I was working as a manager at a Subway retail store.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Here are 2 noes. Motion carries. Thank you. Grundy County Sheriff's Office.
Grundy County Sheriff's Office requests a criminal record waiver for Lonnie Ray Bradford II, hired September 1st, 2022. In January of 2000 and March of 2013, Mr. Bradford was arrested and charged with first offense DUI in Marion County, Tennessee. Mr. Bradford pled guilty to both charges and was convicted of DUI in both instances. Mr. Bradford has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing, fines, and fees. Grundy County is appearing.
Grundy County, if you could, come to the podium, introduce yourself, and go over a little bit this morning as to what you're asking for.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. I am Sheriff Gunner of Grundy County, Tennessee. This morning, I'm asking for a criminal waiver for Mr. Bradford. Mr. Bradford, through my background, we discovered the 2 DUIs, but he had already come before us and told us that he already had these. Now, Mr. Bradford, I have a little bit of history with, not with him, but with his father. When I come to the academy in 2009, I was working as a correction officer, and the only gentleman that gave me a chance was Ray Bradford. He was a retired state trooper and had worked for 2 different counties as a deputy. Through his guidance and his mentorship, I graduated the academy with flying colors. I see a lot of the qualities and standards in his son that Mr. Bradford installed in me as a young trooper. I ask you today to hear Mr. Bradford's story and how these DUIs come about. Everybody makes a mistake. I don't think it's the mistakes that determine who you are, but what you do from your mistakes determines who you're going to be. Mr. Bradford has displayed good citizenship. He's married, has kids, and I think he would make an excellent access to my department.
Any questions of the sheriff from the board?
Sheriff, what has Mr. Bradford been doing since you hired him on September 1st?
Mr. Bradford has been working in retail and doing other different jobs as well.
No, since you hired him, you've been working in retail.
Oh, no, sir, he's not been hired so far. We've just seeking, not done the hire, we've done the pre-waiver, pre-employment, waiting to see if this motion carries.
Okay.
Any other questions of Sheriff or Commissioner Wright?
I just want to make a note, our paperwork says March of 2013, and it looks like it was March of 2011.
On the.
And that's 2 years, but I know that 2 years makes a big difference to a lot of the commissioners.
On the second,
Second to you.
Yes, it was 2011.
St. Patrick's Day.
okay. Any other questions of the sheriff? Not, Mr. Bradford, could you come forward and kind of give us a little bit of your story?
Yes, sir. In January of 2000, I was working for the Tennessee Highway Patrol as a midnight trooper. I was on my days off, went to a buddy's house and had a little bit too much to drink, went to bed, woke up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go back home because I had court that next morning. And He got arrested, got charged for DUI. So instead of fighting it, you know, I was always told to tell the truth and be honest, so, you know, I resigned my position from the state, and I pled guilty to the DUI first. I left there, went to work as a lead man in a maintenance position for Pilgrim's Chicken Company. I worked there till 2014, I guess it was. 2011, my dad died. Buried him on the second day of March. The St. Patrick's Day, I don't know what day it is, 16th or 17th. I was working in my yard, and I'd had a few beverages, and I went to bed about 8 o'clock. I got a phone call at a little after 2 o'clock, and the guy says, "Hey, your wife's out here at this bar. I need you to come and get her. We're going to call the sheriff's office to come and get on the register." So I got up, brushed my teeth, put some clothes on, went and got her, started home, got stopped. 4 or 5, 2 troopers, a couple of sheriff's deputies, and Jasper City Police. The deputy was young. He done his job. And instead of, you know, I was wrong. Instead of fighting it, going to court, spending all that money, I just, you know, I played guilty. Shouldn't have been on the road. I blew a .08. Since then, I've been a plant manager for a pellet mill company, you know, supervised 30 plus employees. I donate Thursday mornings to once a month to the senior citizens facility in Whipple to hand out, take food baskets to older people to help them if they don't have anything. Other than that, that's about it.
Mr. Bradford, we know each other?
Yes, sir, we do.
It's been a long time, ain't it?
Yes, sir. Worked together in Coffee County in 98, 99, and first part of 2000.
Spent a little time on I-24 together.
Yes, sir. Criminal interdiction team.
I've got to ask, what's drove you to want to come back into this profession after all these years?
The desire to serve. You know, I enjoy helping people. I really enjoy helping older people and children. And I feel that there's no better way to do it than be out in the public as a deputy.
Well, I personally appreciate your braveness from coming from these probably good private jobs that you've been in to want to come back into.
I made $100,000 a year for the last 6 years with the pellet company as a plant manager. But I will say this, in last June the 27th, almost a year and a half ago, I had 2 heart attacks from stress. Laid in an ICU unit for 3 days while they were trying to determine if they were going to crack my chest open or if they were going to go in through my leg to put stents in, and then they realized that I didn't have any blockages. It was stress related.
You think you're coming back into law enforcement is going to put less stress on you?
There's definitely stress there. There was in the 90s, and I know it's not gotten any easier, but I've never worked in a position like a plant manager's position where everybody was there. You didn't have any friends. Everybody.
Plant managers kind of like being sheriffs, it sounds like. Any other questions of the board? Commissioner Wright?
Mr. Bradford, what was the reason for the stop in 2011 when you was returning back home from the bar? You recall what the reason was?
Well, my wife had been out there, and of course, we're divorced. I've remarried, but she was, I think she was a spawn of Satan, but she had got out there and got into a fight. And of course, in a small town, and I'm sure most of you young and ladies are from small towns, everybody knows everybody. So the bar owner knew me, so he called me. And come and get her, or we're calling the sheriff's office. Well, somebody that was there called the sheriff's office. So when I passed them, and I'm thinking, and I looked over at her and I said, you know where they're going, don't you? She said, where? And I said, they're going to get you. So past them, I made it about another mile and I met a trooper. The trooper turned on me and stopped me, but he never came to the car. He waited on the deputy, and the deputy is the gentleman that wrote one of my letters. His name is Keith Summers. He's the deputy that arrested me, and now he's a trooper.
Mr. Bradford, I wanted to make it clear too earlier on that year, because I know there's several commission members that 10-year mark kind of resonates.
Yeah, it was 2011, and I guess when I was.
Well, I think it's just on our side. Probably got crossed up a little bit. One thing said, I will make a motion to approve. Nobody else can.
One other thing before we cover the motion, Mr. Bradford, you do realize if this does pass and you're granted the waiver, that you'll have to go back through the basic academy.
I've been running a mile and a half, 2 miles every day since I had since I got out of the hospital.
Well, we know me and you both are not spring chickens, obviously.
No, I lost 77 pounds in 6 months. So,
yes, sir. Any other questions of the board? Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bradford, tell us about your employment with the Highway Patrol. When did it start? When did it end?
March of 1997. And my last official day was in June 2000.
Okay, and when you was arrested one time, you said you blew a .08. Was it just alcohol or drugs and alcohol?
It was alcohol. I've never touched a cigarette.
And what's your drinking habits now?
I don't, since I had the heart attack. When I had the heart attacks, they told me, you gotta stop or you're gonna die. And I quit. I'm not gonna lie to you, before that, I would have a social drink. But as far as driving, my wife would get aggravated. She wanted to go somewhere and have a few drinks. And I said, I'm not going for drinking. I'm not going to, I'm not getting in that crap again. I don't need it anymore. I'm grown up.
Sounds good. And I'm going to make the second on this motion to approve the waiver. And I don't know how it will turn out, but if it turns out well, I wish you luck. And this will be your chance if it works out. So good luck, whatever happens. I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? If no discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Here are 2 noes. Motion carries. Congratulations, and
Thank you.
come see me, Mr. Bradford.
Yes, sir, I will. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Oliver Springs Police Department.
The Oliver Springs Police Department requests a criminal record waiver for Austin Christopher Woodall. In April of 2013, Mr. Woodall was charged with underage consumption in Sevier County, Tennessee. In July of 2013, Mr. Woodall was found guilty of underage consumption. In December of 2014, Mr. Woodall was arrested for driving under the influence in Anderson County, Tennessee. In March of 2016, Mr. Woodall was found guilty of driving under the influence. Mr. Woodall has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing fines and fees. The Oliver Springs Police Department is appearing.
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, and can you identify yourself to the board and go over a little bit of this request?
I'm David Laxton. I'm the Chief of Police in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. It's not too much in a small town like we say in Oliver Springs to uncover. Coming all the way from patrols and patrolmen all the way up through the ranks to Chief of Police. Austin is one of those kids I watched grow up. He was a kid always out in town playing ball. I've watched him grow up and I've watched him step on his toes all the way growing up. Austin was one of those that you looked at and you was just always just written to yourself. You're just waiting for him to succeed. You're waiting for him to grow up, that kind of thing. He didn't grow up with the best of childhoods. He's not one of those that come from a, great home family with no issues. He was the one we always tried to grab a hold of, always wanted to see do better and mentor. He had a little trouble with alcohol for a little while, and I think he was trying to suppress some bad times, some bad memories. Since then, I've watched Austin grow up. I watched him become a family man. I've watched him get married and have 3 children. I've watched him turn into a role model for our youth club. I watched him coach ball teams. I've seen him become a man. I've finally seen what I saw in him as a kid. He's finally does it as an adult. It's come to the point now where he has decided that he wants to come into law enforcement. That being said, he has a little bit of record in the past, and we watched him. Him being as young as he is, I will go ahead and tell you, he don't have the 10 years that y'all look for so vividly. He is at 9. He's young. I promise you, there's not very many people I'll put my name behind, but I've watched him from a kid all the way till now. I will vouch for him. He's going to be a good officer. He's going to be a good role model, and I hope to see him do the best.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of the board? Mr. Woodall, could you come up? How old were you when these incidents took place, especially, or how old were you in December of 2012?
2012, I was 21.
He's 20. How old are you now?
29.
29. I see here that's there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incidents in 2012, all on the same day. It's a hunting related incident. Can you tell us a little bit about that day?
Yes, we were up on the mountain late at night. We was at a bonfire. We've been drinking. We went on down the hill. I had spotlight animals, and my buddy, he shot an elk. When he did, he hopped out the vehicle. I followed him. My buddy. We went up. The elk had laid down in the wood line, and we went ahead and put it out of its misery. So it come about, they found it, and they charged all of us with shooting that elk. Spotlighting that. I don't remember all the charges specifically, but that was that incident.
Then you have another one in April of 13, underage consumption. And then tell us a little bit about this filing a false report in 14.
That was up in Knoxville. I killed a fire alarm. I understand that was taken away from the fire department. All first responders would have to respond to that call. At the time, we were being stupid, fooling around up there. We shouldn't have been up there in the first place. That was at a college. It was a dorm room. It was up there around the campus area.
And then in March of 16, you have the driving under the influence, and go into that for the board.
So by
that time, I pretty much stopped all the holidays. I had my middle daughter. My wife worked night shift. I was taking care of her. My buddy had his bachelor party. Go to his bachelor party. Ended up having a few drinks. Drove home. I pulled over for swerving, didn't get nobody, pulled over. No registration lights. Officer come up. I knew I was in the wrong. At this point, I wasn't gonna try to fight it. I done my sobriety test, went and gave blood. When I do something, I own up to it. Just, I've always been like that. It's cut and dry. And there ain't nothing for me to lie about. I was drinking, I drove home from that bachelor party. And at the time though, I got slowed down. That was pretty much one night out, one little last hurrah that really cost me.
So, Mr. Woodall, what are you currently doing now?
Currently, since the DUI, I was on the fire department, volunteer fire department there in town for right at 3 years. Currently, I'm in the union, carpenter's union, doing construction. I got 3 kids and a wife. Pretty much just want to be a role model for my kids. And really have one growing up that not that good of a person. I don't want to be that for my children. I want them to see somebody that when they get older, like I want to be like my dad. I want to be nothing like my dad. I want to be the opposite. I want my children to be like, you know. I help out in the youth club right now. I'm coaching football. None of my children actually play football, but I did. Buddy, he asked me to help. So I absolutely enjoy watching those children. You know, it's very fun. Helping mentor them and help them out. And me and my wife, we also have a little mowing company. So we mow about 30 yards, just me and her and the kids. Take the kids with us in hopes that one day, once they get older, you know, instead of being like, Daddy, Mommy, we want to go to this game, we can install like, okay, well, if you need this money, I have to go to work. They can come out, they can mow, they can get the money. They'll see how life works. So they grow up like, okay, well, you know, I grew up, I had all these charges and stuff. That cost money. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no concept. I have a good concept on life. I was in a total rebellious state. Officer Laxton said, I pretty much suppressed the memories. From there, I've grown up since then. Put that behind me, and I want no part of it. I want to be a good person for my kids, the community, help out other children.
Thank you. Questions of board members?
Well, who pulled the trigger on that elk?
My buddy didn't miss it. I'm the one who put it out.
Any other questions from the members?
Well, how old were you when you got your age consumption charge?
2012, I was 19.
So,
Commissioner Russell?
Mr. Woodall, how old are you now? 29. I appreciate you wanting to serve as a law enforcement officer. I just personally don't think there's been enough time went by since the 2016 incident and the history. I would have to make the motion to decline the waiver right now, but maybe you can come back later. I don't know, it may pass, but my motion is to decline.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Come back at a later date, okay?
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Don't give up. All right, moving on to page 4. Yes, Cleveland State Community College. as this will be the addition to the agenda.
Cleveland State Community College Law Enforcement Training Academy requests a military discharge waiver for Holden Grant Moore. On January 15th, 2022, Mr. Moore was discharged from the Tennessee Army National Guard with a under honorable conditions general discharge due to unsatisfactory participation. Cleveland State is requesting the waiver so Mr. Moore may attend their academy.
Is Cleveland appearing this morning?
Trying to talk.
Anybody with Cleveland State online this morning?
Yes, sir, I am. This is Holden Moore.
Thank you. Can you give us a little Cliff Note version of what's this first request on Mr. Moore?
Yes, I am requesting to attend the Law Enforcement Academy at Cleveland State, of course. And I reached out to them. I didn't know the process, to be honest with you, sir. And they told me I had to fill out a military discharge waiver. And I explained as such in the waiver what was going on in my life at the time. Of course, I stated in there I was going through a divorce, which any divorce is rough on anyone. I don't ever wish on anyone. And when I was going through a divorce, I was working at Knox County Sheriff's Office at the time as a corrections officer. And I was in for 9 months. 9 months. And at the ending of my time there, when I was going through a divorce, I had to relocate to find me somewhere else to live for me and my kids. And I was driving already an hour away because I resided in Millsboro, Kentucky. And when I was going through that divorce, I found me a place to live, and it became too rough on me to try to keep driving back and forth and trying to take care of my kids. And so I had to find a place closer to home. And I fell through on a lot of stuff. I joined the military, great aspects to take care of my family at the time. And I mean, the current situations happened, and it didn't work out that way as I planned when I joined the military. And lost about everything I had in the move because I fell short on money, because money issues are a big thing. And times got rough on me. And so when I got this new job, I started building myself back up. And I always knew I wanted to be something in law enforcement. I mean, I went to Walsh State before I even went to the Army, tried to go to the college. And I was needing benefits, and that's why I joined the Army. And when I lost everything, I lost my vehicles, sir. I fell all the way down to the bottom, and I'm building myself back up, and I'm just trying to get back up there and not let the past behind me affect me and my future for my kids.
Thank you. You, where do you live now?
I live right now in Harrogate, Tennessee, sir.
Okay. You, and you're just wanting to put yourself through the academy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was going to pay for it.
Any questions of the board? Commissioner Forrester?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Do you have an agency that has agreed to hire you at this point?
No, I do not. Which I have not applied, of course. I was going to go ahead and just try to push myself through. I have some family members, of course, that went through some of the academies. Like I had a family member who went to the Walsh State one, and he didn't have what we call it, an agency that was looking for him at the time. But he said after he got out, he had the offers like left and right. And my goal was to send myself through, because when I was working at Knox County at the time, when I tried every police academy tryout there. Of course, I was only there for a year, so it takes time for people to get to know you in any job. And I passed the academies, but where I was going through such a rough time, I couldn't do anything at that time. So that's why I'm putting myself through now and trying to continue my profession for me and my kids.
Second, what were the actual conditions within the Army that resulted in you being discharged? Was that not having transportation?
Yes, that's what it came down to. And so it was more like an unsatisfactory participant. And they knew I was going through a lot at the time. And that whenever you come through a situation, I lived an hour, 2 hours away from my unit. I was drilling out of Rockwood, Tennessee. And not many people lived around me. Not many people. I lived, if anyone knows where Millsboro, Kentucky was at the time, it's a small area. You're really in a crater, and there ain't no one around, and it was able to carpool me. I was by myself in the area, so that's what happened to me when I lost my vehicle and everything like that. I couldn't keep going, and I tried my best, and it just ended up being the way it is, and it still kills me to this day because I joined the military with high hopes like anyone would, and it was for my kids, and just stuff fell through on me. Life hit me.
Any other questions from members? Commissioner Russell?
Mr. Moore, why did you leave Knox County?
I left Knox County was the reason was because I was going through a divorce, and like I was stating before, I was trying to find a place to live, and for me and my kids, and I couldn't keep driving back and forth an hour, and I was staying with my dad at the time, and I couldn't keep. He works night shift. He used to work at Sanders. Now he does medical contract jobs. So it was hard for someone to help watch my kids, and I was, like I said, money was tight at the time, and I was trying to do everything I could, so I had to find a job closer to home, and it was more beneficial for me to stay closer to home rather than keep driving an hour away with the situation I had at hand.
What was your role at Knox County?
I was a corrections officer, sir.
And did you go to the TCI Academy?
I believe so. I think I was going through I think when I first started, sir, I know it was called CODA. They put us through. It was like a 6-week course, and that was back in 2020 when I was in there. I feel like I did. I'll be honest with you, sir. I'd have to check back into it, but I know I completed some stuff online, but I can't remember exactly. To be honest with you, sir.
Did you complete that academy as far as get a certificate, or how did that work out?
Yeah. Yes, I did complete the Corrections Academy all the way through.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I hear one no. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Cleveland State attend another academy. Is there a Chad Ramsey online this morning?
Yes, sir, present.
Okay. Mr. Griffin, can you read that?
In August of 2022, Mr. Ramsey attended the Tennessee Highway Patrol Training Academy, but did not complete the training due to medical reasons. Cleveland State is requesting a waiver, so Mr. Ramsey may attend their academy in January of 2023.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey, can you go over with this board a little bit of your history?
Yes, sir. First of all, good morning, Commission. Thank you so much for having me. What had occurred was I attended the Highway Patrol Academy. I started out the training as a cadet. During one of our breaks, I ended up falling pretty ill with a very high fever for a few days, became bedridden for a while. Had a few consultations with my primary care physician. They put me on some prescription medications, but they advised me of the situation, letting me know that even though I was in the academy, the recovery from the condition I was suffering from at the time was going to take a little bit longer than the time that I figured was going to be allotted to me to be absent from training. So I had that hard conversation with my doctor. They were telling me, it's going to be a few weeks for you to get your pulmonary function back up to where it needs to be and back up to par, along with also taking prescription medications for the next month to try to get my pulmonary function back up to running. So with that, I had the conversation with my family. I also had some things going on with my children. I have 2 small kids. So I had the hard conversation with my family about where I wanted to go, what the future was looking like. So we decided it's probably just best for me to step back from the program and maybe look at pursuing a career with local law enforcement. Take some time to recover, get my pulmonary function back up to par, work out a little bit more, and try to pursue a career in local law enforcement. My parents have been in local law enforcement for 20 years, and I've just wanted to do nothing but serve and follow in their footsteps. So that's why I'm putting in that request today. I've applied with Cleveland State, looking to join their program and complete their academy. So that's the direction I'm looking at going.
Thank you. Questions of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you so much.
Moving on now to the top of page 4. Waiver to attend another academy, Crossville Police Department.
The Crossville Police Department requests a waiver to change academies for Jesse Lynn Henson with a hire date of August 1st, 2022. In June of 2021, Mr. Henson attended the Tennessee Highway Patrol Training Academy, but did not complete the training due to family and personal reasons. Crossville Police Department is requesting the waiver so Mr. Henson may attend the Blount County Law Enforcement Training Academy, January of 2023.
Thank you. Crossville Police Department, are you present this morning?
Chief Brooks, if you can you unmute for us?
Okay, is that better?
We got you now, Chief. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Just fine, sir. Good to see you. Could you go over a little bit with the board about the Henson case?
Yes, sir. Mr. Henson, he applied with us. We put him, he's in the FTO program right now. He's exceeded what's expected of him in the FTO program. He had issues. He had just been discharged from the military in mid-June. He had to report to THP Academy the last of June. His wife was 7 months pregnant. He had 2 other kids, and he didn't have a place for them to live. So he had several personal issues that it blocked him from attending the academy. He applied and showed up, but to be honest with you, his heart wasn't in it, and I don't blame him with all those issues he had going at that time. And it's sort of a good break for me because I think he's going to be an outstanding officer, and I'm really grateful to have him. So,
yes, sir. Is he with you this morning, Chief?
Yes, sir, he is. I'll let him speak to you.
Apologize.
Appreciate you. Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Just fine, Mr. Henson. We just want to lay eyes on you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any questions of the board or Mr. Henson's case? Commissioner Russell.
I'll make the motion to approve it. Thanks.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Henson. Good luck to
Have a
you.
great rest of the day.
All righty. Smith County Sheriff's Office.
Smith County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver to change academies for Michael Wayne Baines with a hire date of September 1st, 2022. In March of 2021, Mr. Baines attended the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department Training Academy, but was unable to complete the training due to academic failure. Smith County Sheriff's Office is requesting the waiver so Mr. Baines may attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, January of 2023.
Anybody appearing this morning for Smith County?
Yes, we're online.
Thank you. Is Mr. Baines with you this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can y'all go over a little bit about what happened with the particular situation at Metro?
Yes, sir. I started March 1st of 2021. 6 weeks in, there's 6 law exams. I made it to the second law block test and couldn't academically, the score that they wanted me to achieve, I didn't score high enough to get any further in the process. And that's why I relocated here to Smith County Sheriff's Office and worked corrections for 1 year and 4 months. And I've got an opportunity to attend the academy again, and I want to take advantage of it.
Okay. You think you're going to do better in your exams here?
Yes, sir. When I started corrections, I've learned, I got a little bit better of how the law is applied, and it's helped me. It's helped me more by doing that than it was just jumping straight in and trying to pass the law.
All right. Any questions of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second. Yeah, it's fine.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck there, Mr. Baines.
Thank you.
Moving on to page 5 of the agenda, waivers of basic training and specialized substitutions for in-service, Chattanooga Police Department.
Chattanooga Police Department requests the Post Commission's approval to forego basic police school for Harry Stearns Summers, hired August 26, 2022. Mr. Summers graduated from the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy September of 1982 and has more than 30 years of experience and training in law enforcement. Mr. Summers was employed with the Fairfax County Police Department in Virginia from 1982 to 1985, and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration from 1985 to 2014. Chattanooga Police Department is requesting a waiver for Mr. Summers to attend transition school.
Anybody with Chattanooga PD this morning?
Yes, sir. This is Nathan Vaughn with the Chattanooga Police Department. I'm the Chief of Staff. I'm appearing on behalf of Chief Murphy to request this waiver for Mr. Harry Summers to complete the transition school instead of a basic police academy. As you've heard, Mr. Summers began his law enforcement career as a certified police officer in Fairfax, Virginia. After 3 years, he moved on to the Drug Enforcement Administration, where he served for 30 years. Many of those years were in leadership roles with the DEA, including time in Memphis and also in Nashville, where he was in charge of all field offices for the DEA in the state of Tennessee. He concluded his career as the special agent in charge of the Atlanta Division, which included several states, including the state of Tennessee again. At that position, he reported directly to the DEA administrator in Washington. As you can see, through his distinguished career in the DEA, 15 years of that experience was directly involved in Tennessee. Upon his retirement from the federal government, he served as Senior Director of Global Security for the Coca-Cola Company. During this time, he was still in the arena of law enforcement. He maintained a government security clearance and frequently collaborated with federal law enforcement agencies in the United States and around the world. In the short time that I've been working alongside Harry, he has proven to be extremely valuable to our agency and invaluable to me personally. I consider Harry to be one of the top 3 law enforcement leaders I've ever had the pleasure to work with across my 30+ years here at the Chattanooga PD. I look forward to our continued professional and personal relationship as he leads our investigative and special operations divisions. And we request that after a thorough evaluation of his extensive lifelong experience in law enforcement, that he be granted a waiver to attend the transition school in lieu of a full basic academy.
Thank you. But is by chance Mr. Summers with you this morning?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm on the line. I should be on video and audio.
Thank you. We see you there. Mr. Summers, what have you been doing since your retirement?
So I have retired kind of twice. I retired from the DEA in 2000, in August 2014. I went to work for Coca-Cola, and I retired again at the end of 2000, yes. And so I was actually retired for 16 months or something like that, and living my life fairly comfortably. And I had an opportunity with the new chief that came in here who offered me a position, and I came back because it's service, and it's just an opportunity to come in and have some effect in a city in which I was going to retire in because I have family here. So.
Yes, sir. So have you had any interaction with some type of local or state level law enforcement training or speaking engagements, any kind of interaction since your retirement out of the DEA?
Oh, so I've certainly, even at Coca-Cola, I remained very involved with state, local relationships with law enforcement, certainly with the FBI and the intelligence community. And I maintained a clearance so that I could be kind of a buffer between information that came from those groups and back into corporate America. And all the local police departments I stayed involved in, and especially in Atlanta, I was part of Metropol. I still had a membership in ICP. I went to things like that. I met with and talked with lots of chiefs and local law enforcement folks and sheriffs, and kept very abreast of what was going on in the community, in the police community, and both locally and domestically, I think. And I've always maintained those relationships because that's where I come from. Those are most of my friends, frankly. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions of the board?
Mr. Summers seems to have a stellar law enforcement background in his history. And I think with going to the transition school would bring him up to speed on what we're doing here in Tennessee. So I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
How far outside the 7 years is he?
1 year.
Well, I have no problem with him walking directly onto a law enforcement agency. Unfortunately, it doesn't meet the criteria and the rules for transition.
I'd like to speak on his behalf. I don't know Mr. Summers personally, but I know spending 14 years in Atlanta working with Coca-Cola, they are world renowned and stay on top of things intelligence-wise around the world. So I know his involvement in the community, law enforcement. I know it doesn't meet the rule. He's a year short, but man of his caliber, I'd hire him myself if I had an agency, and I think we should approve it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Chief Isbell?
In 82 through 85 was local law enforcement experience. The rest was with the DEA. And it's admirable work. My question and concern, I think we've talked about it before, is transition set up to handle someone who's been out of law enforcement since 1985.
Well, you have to take it, I guess, take into consideration, how far removed was he at DEA with local law enforcement? We have our local agents that interact with us on daily activities, and they, by osmosis, see that we do things locally, from interdiction stops to even domestics or local search warrants. If somebody's higher up in administration, how far removed are they? Is it like riding a bicycle? We want to look at, well, maybe we haven't been on that bicycle for 10 years, but we still know how to balance it. We may be a little wobbly, may have training wheels for a little while. Training wheels would be the transition school. And after that, we go from there. I don't know what this gentleman's going to be doing at Chattanooga PD. But I'm sure he's probably going to be in some kind of high administration position doing HR things and whatnot, since they've just had a changing of administration. I'm just assuming.
Chief, the rules allow us to substitute federal training for state training. So that's one of the exceptions where we can grant a substitution of training. People go can be certified also.
He would.
The only issue he has is he's outside the 7-year window of being a certified law enforcement officer.
And he would have, had he not been outside of that, he would qualify to run for office. But other than that, we're waiving that one, so to speak, 1 year is what the motion is.
And I think his history alone brings a lot to the state, and I think he'll do well in there. If I'm not mistaken, I think is it Chief of Detectives, Chief of Investigation position he was.
Yes, sir. Chief Summers will be the Executive Chief of Investigations and Special Operations.
Yeah. For someone that's transitioned myself from non-typical law enforcement, I think Chief of Detectives or Chief of Investigations is a perfect place for a man with experience like his.
Any other discussion on the motion? We have a motion.
I'm going to abstain.
We have one abstention. Okay. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Roll call.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Forrester.
No.
Commissioner Green abstains. Commissioner Isbell?
No.
Commissioner Jackson?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Aye.
Commissioner Spangler?
Aye.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
No.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
No.
Chairman Pardon?
Aye.
Six ayes, 4 noes, 1 abstention.
Motion carries. Thank you and good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Grundy County Sheriff's Office.
Grundy County Sheriff's Office requests the Post Commission's approval to forego basic police school for Kayla Rebecca Seagroves, hired September 1st, 2022. Ms. Seagroves' last date of full-time law enforcement service was June 29th, 2014. Grundy County Sheriff's Office is requesting a waiver for Ms. Seagroves to attend transition school.
Good morning again. I'm Sheriff Gunner, Grundy County. Ms. Seagroves started with the Grundy County Sheriff's Department in 2007. She went to the academy in 2010. After graduating the academy, she was on the road just for a short time. I had started rebuilding the SRO program at the time, pulling Ms. Seagroves in there, and Ms. Seagroves stuck to it naturally, working with the students from various grades from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. Ms. Seagroves left the Grundy County Sheriff's Department and went to work for the Suwanee Police Department, where she worked full-time there. Ms. Seagroves came down with a rare type of stomach cancer. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of it. I will let her pronounce it because I'll just mess it up. After her surgery, she did work part-time, and if her part-time had been included, she would be within the 7-year mark. Since Ms. Seagroves has been out of law enforcement, she's co-chaired the local TV show there, and she is also the vice chair of the GOP. Ms. Seagroves has been back in our FTO program since September. She has demonstrated that she still has the knowledge and the capability to perform this job. She is riding with some of our senior officers that has no experience in working in the schools, and she's been a valuable asset since then. I've had to rebuild the Sheriff's Department. When I took over, I had 3 officers left. And since then, we have rebuilt, but I'm struggling with the SRO department and leadership. I am confident if she's allowed to do this transition, that she'll make an excellent supervisor of the SRO program. Ms. Seagroves has 3 children. It would be beneficial to her to be able to do this transition because of her 3 children. Then I could get her back in to the SRO program, get her recertified, then send her on to a higher school to get her advanced SRO training again. I ask that you consider her part-time and the fact that after she had her surgery, she did return to law enforcement, to where that she was working with the college students. And then since coming back to the Grundy County Sheriff's Department, she is, like I said, proved a vital asset already. And I'll let Ms. Seagroves speak, but I ask for your considerations on this, and I thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the board of Ms. Seagroves?
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here, 1 opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Seagroves, and good luck.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sequatchie County Sheriff's Office.
Sequatchie County Sheriff's Office requests the Post Commission's approval to forego transition school for William Wayne Phillips, hired September 1st, 2022. Mr. Phillips' last date of full-time law enforcement service was March 30th, 2017.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
I think you've sat through this long enough to kind of know how this works, so carry on, sir.
So I was a 28-year member of the Chattanooga Police Department. That started in February of 1989. So for first went through their 20-week academy, and then 28 consecutive years of Chattanooga Police Department's in service, along with multiple other training opportunities because of my advancement to the investigative side of the house in that chain of command. So I didn't skip from one place and take a break and go do something else and all that. It was consistent training over a really 3-decade period. I retired from the Chattanooga Police Department in March the 30th of 2017 with the intention of running for sheriff in my home county, Sequatchie County, the following fall, which I did. That was a 4-candidate race, and I barely missed that time around. So I knew that night that I would be running again 4 years later. I had begun the process of building a private investigation company prior to that election, but had put it on hold because of the time restraints, trying to campaign during that time. But I did complete that shortly after that failed election, and built a private investigation company, which was just myself. I was the only investigator with that. I thought it was going to be a part-time gig until the next election, but because I think primarily my reputation around the Chattanooga area, having spent 22 of my 28 plus years in the homicide chain of command, and having worked roughly 700 homicides and thousands of criminal investigations over the years, that part-time business became more than I could do on my own. So on the date of the primary this year, May the 3rd, when I won the primary and was to be unopposed in the August general election, I was assigned to 19 homicides in that region. So I've been doing that for the past few years. I worked with police agencies, helping to build their investigative services, or a police agency, and I offered it to others, did unofficial assistance with them without any charge. I was under contract with one police agency and had them to build their investigative service that they have today, train their investigator, and help them for the next, from October of 2020 until July 1st of 2022, working on 2 unsolved murder cases. So I haven't been to an in-service during that period, but I've been working with police agencies. And then even when not working with them, I've been working with families and attorneys on many other homicide and other major crimes cases. Back to my time at Chattanooga PD, I was the Chattanooga area rep for the ROCIC, the Regional Organized Crime Information Center. Hosted their 3 homicide conferences that were held in Chattanooga, and along with, the biggest thing that we did there was setting up training. So I've been around a lot of training over the past 3 decades, and I'm just a little bit outside, I guess, that 3-year mark for the transition course. I'm now a sheriff. I was elected sheriff this year in Sequatchie County. My duties now are strictly administrative. I attend every Tennessee Sheriff's Association meeting that I can go to, which is basically everyone they send me information graphic, look for that training. And I think that's much more beneficial for me in my position than the transition course would be, taking me away from our duties to try to build what we're building at the Sequatchie County Sheriff's Office. So with that, I'm asking for a waiver for that transition.
Thanks, Sheriff. Did you not also attend 2 weeks of sheriff skill training in the last, since September 1st?
That's correct.
Thought I'd add that in there for you. Any questions of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. I indicate 2 noes. Motion carries. Good luck, Sheriff. Thank you. If you want to stand up and stay there, I guess you've got a second one here for Mr. Tilley.
I do.
If you want to formally read it.
The Sequatchie County Sheriff's Office requests the Post Commission's approval to forego transition school for Michael Allen Tilley, hired September 1st, 2022. Mr. Tilley's last date of full-time law enforcement service was October 31st, 2018.
Thank you, Sheriff. We've heard your story. Can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Tilley?
Sure. So Mike Tilley worked with me at the Chattanooga Police Department. He too did 28 plus years with Chattanooga. I worked with Mike back in the early 90s patrol. And then after I was able to get him into the homicide unit in the early 2000s, he came in and was basically became, when I became in supervision, became one of our really go-to investigators because of his ability to investigate. Mike always looked for additional training, as did I, and was given that. He also went through all the in-services and the Chattanooga Police Academy and everything that they offer there. Mike worked with me in the cold case unit, in the homicide unit. We were able to build, he showed a big interest in computer forensics, and we had a big need for that at that time at Chattanooga PD, and particularly involving our homicide investigations. So we were able to team up with the Secret Service and build a unit that Mike pretty much ran for the rest of his career. In this capacity, he helped with hundreds of homicide cases, not only for Chattanooga PD, but for surrounding agencies, including federal agencies in the region. Mike had worked so closely with the feds that he had actually gained an FBI security clearance. He has been gone now, I think, for just 4 years. Just under 4 years. And so when I was elected sheriff, I needed administrative staff to bring the sheriff's office to the place where I knew it could be, which is something really new for our county. And I knew that I needed people like Mike in those positions. So I tricked him into coming with me. And Mike is our chief of investigations at the Sequatchie County Sheriff's Department. He too attended the first week of the new sheriff school with me, and has attended also the TSA, the Tennessee Sheriff's Association fall conference with him just a couple of weeks ago. With all that, we request that Mike receive a waiver for transition.
Questions of the board? Mr. Tilley, if you got anything you'd like to address us with?
After my retirement, I got started a construction business, doing construction and remodeling until the time that Mr. Phillips asked me to come on with it if it was to be elected. There any contact with law enforcement I had at that time was only just going to different meetings during his campaign with various law enforcement agencies.
as soon as that.
Do you have any court cases that extended in going back to court after?
I did.
Your retirement?
Actually, there's still some that are still pending.
Any other discussion or questions from the board on Mr. Tilley's request? Not, I'll entertain a motion up or down.
How far out of the window is he?
For transition, just over a year. But he's not for, I mean, he's within compliance of post certifications, just to go to transition school or not, to be a lead detective, chief of detectives.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Here's a second.
I second.
Have a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Here are 2 noes. Motion carries, and I will tell you too, this is not a retirement job. Y'all had it made.
We figured that out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Page 6.
Post-reviewed and administratively approved 35 for post-transition school waivers, and all corresponding supporting documents appear to be in order and meet or exceed the minimum standards set forth by post. Following requests for waivers, substitution, and basic training have been reviewed and appear to meet the requirements. Landon Aites, Courtney Bowling, Anthony Brinkley, Samantha Carver, Robert Cobb, James Crawford, Cash Cross, Dustin English, Douglas Fowler, Brian Gilly, Heath Gunter, Haley Harris, Christina Hill, Joseph Horvath, Joshua Ince, Edwin Kaup, Virgil Lanning, Nico Lewis, LaWanda Mallet, Christopher Mercado, Rebecca Moore, Kevin Oliver, Michael Proden, Todd Roll, Charles Rogers, Clifford Rosebaum, Natalie Schwartz, Justin Seltzer, Joshua Smith, Michael Spencer, Tommy Sutton, Joseph Taylor, Luke Walsh, Cameron Wicker, Mark Yergin.
Any discussion? Moving on to the additional post-reviewed, administratively approved 7 waivers requests based on the recently expired governor's orders. Due to the recent expiration of the orders, the Post Commission has approved for solo waiver requests to be administratively approved until the virtual post-transition school is completed. And I will enter into the record those names that are set forth in said cause.
You want them read?
I don't think we have to have them read. Administrative waivers, of in-service, we have none. Waivers of the 6-month rule, going on down to South Pittsburgh Police Department.
South Pittsburgh Police Department requests a 6-month waiver for Charles David Dickerson, hired April 12, 2022. In July of 22, Mr. Dickerson was scheduled to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, but was unable due to being exposed to COVID. Mr. Dickerson is scheduled to attend the next available class at Toledo.
Have a motion to approve. Second. Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Top of page 8, Williamson County Sheriff's Office.
Williamson County Sheriff's Office requests a 6-month waiver for Justice Shane Harrison, hired March 21st, 2022. In July of 22, Mr. Harrison attended the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, but was unable to complete the training due to a medical issue. Mr. Harrison is scheduled to attend Toledo in January of 2023.
Any discussion on this issue? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second. Have a second. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Waivers for the 8th month rule, none. Waivers for medical, none. Waivers for military leave is none. So that carries us over to page 9, top of page 9 of the agenda, applications for training officer. It looks like investigators reviewed and approved 6 applications for training officer, and they appear to meet the criteria for approval. The one officer, if any, will be informed to have the 1 year to complete the instructor development. Christopher Duke. Carovius, that would not make the pronunciation in Coffee County.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Abstain.
And one abstention, and you cheated. So that one was approved because you knew, so. Applications for certified instructor.
We had, we reviewed and approved 11 applications for certified instructor. They appear to be in order and meet the minimum standards. None require 1 year to complete the instructor development course. We do, however, have 2 that requested a waiver of the 1 year training officer requirement. That's Chris Elwood and Robert Stanley.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Curriculum and test.
Post investigators have reviewed and approved 167 in-service and specialized training classes this month as they appear to be in order and meet or exceed the minimum standards set forth by Post. They've made note if these meet the Post requirements for their mandated topics.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion there, second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Going on to page 10, old business.
The University of the South Campus Police Department requests the Post Commission's approval to attend transition school for Clifford Edward Shane II, hired June 1st, 2020. Mr. Shane graduated from the Georgia Regional Public Training Police Training Academy on September 14th, 2007. However, the academy does not retain training documents. Mr. Shane also completed training for the National Nuclear Security Administration, where he served as a federal agent from 2009 to 2020.
Mr. Shane, you're online this morning.
Yes, sir.
Say somebody lost your records.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you been to, what kind of, you were at the National Nuclear Security Administration, so I can imagine that you probably would have a wealth of training during that time.
Yes, sir. Our academy we have our own academy. It's in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's six weeks long, and then we also attend FLETC. It's not the 1801 class. It's a block specifically for U.S. Department of Energy employees.
Yes, sir. Any questions from the board to Mr. Shane?
How long was the FLETC training?
The initial training was a legal block that was 3 weeks long, and then we routinely went back for various things such as EVOC.
Mr. Shane, under the National Nuclear Administration, were y'all, who were y'all? Were y'all commissioned by Department of Defense or anybody like that?
No, we weren't. We were part of the U.S. Department of Energy.
Okay.
We're a smaller office of the U.S. Department of Energy.
It's kind of like Y-12 and some of those other facilities.
Our primary function was to move nuclear weapons and special nuclear materials around the country. By us doing that, they gave us a law enforcement ability to enforce federal law, basically nationwide.
I'm familiar with that. We have a lot of troopers that leave to go to work for y'all at times, moving. You run around the state with those secret trucks.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. New business for discussion, Jackson County Sheriff's Office.
If it's all right with you, Chairman, we'll take both of these together because they deal with the same thing. Johnny Ray Cyrus was hired on October 28, 2021. However, Post did not receive the required paperwork until October 5th, 2022. Same for Michael Gene Roden, who was hired on September 25th, 2021. Post did not receive the required paperwork until October 5th, 2022. Jackson County Sheriff's Office should be appearing.
Jackson County, good morning. I think you're going to have to pull. We didn't hear you. It looks like you're unmuted, but we did not hear you. I can see you talking, but I cannot hear you. While he's trying to figure that out, what's the status of the paperwork now? Are they in compliance now and everything straightened out? Was it something malice or was it just a mistake?
Yeah, it just didn't get turned into.
Just didn't get turned in. Any discussion on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. There's a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. A motion is approved times 2. Jackson County, you talked very well this morning and everything straightened out. We'll talk to you later.
We have one additional matter that we added to that addendum, which was the Dyersburg State Community College. They just want to address the commission this morning. They're not on the agenda that was on us. We just didn't get them put on the agenda. But they just want to address the commission and tell us about the police department that they've started at Dyersburg State.
Good morning. You're hereby recognized.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Scott Cook, president of Dyersburg State Community College. I'm joined today with Dr. Charlene White, our chief financial officer, and Chief Michael Peeler, the inaugural chief of police for Dyersburg State Community College. We wanted to come to you to tell you how very much we appreciate your consideration of our starting a police department. When I became president on January the 4th, I knew that safety and security had to be a top priority for me and a new administration at the college. As I talked to employees one-on-one and in groups, it was very evident that safety and security was definitely on their mind. We are the last Tennessee Board of Regents community college to request a post-certified police department, yet we are the only community college that has ever weathered a hostage crisis, and that was in 2003. So with that, we just want to say thank you for your consideration, and if there are any questions, I would be happy to address them.
Mr. President, I'm Chairman Pardon. What's the average daily population of your campus?
It will depend day to day, but we do begin classes at 8 o'clock in the morning. We go to 9 o'clock in the evening. We have 5 sports, so we have activities at night and on the weekend. We have approximately full and part-time, just over 400 employees and over 2,000 students that we take care of on 3 campuses. So it is a significant population on any given day. Plus, we have visitors who come and go. We're an open campus, and so we do not always know who is on our campus.
How many officers are you going to be looking at, or how many have you employed, or what's the future in this current budget?
We have hired 1. We have in the budget to hire a second officer. So we have allocated approximately $130,000 salary and benefits for this fiscal year for employees. We will put a full-time officer at our Covington location where the chief of police will be stationed. We'll have a second police officer in Dyersburg. And I don't believe that you can put safety and security on one campus and not take care of every campus equally. So we are working at our smallest campus with the Trenton Police Force to share the SRO with Peabody High School, because our building is literally 10 steps from Peabody High School. So we'll make sure we have an officer at each location.
You be utilizing some part-time?
We will eventually. Currently, we have contract security, and our vision is to phase out the contract security and have potentially 2 full-time shifts and supplement with some part-time security we hire.
Yes, sir. Well, appreciate your due diligence, and please, education is important. I come from a long line of educators, but I'm also a law enforcement officer, and I have a great desire to support both. Please, in your budgetary issues, please support your safety on those campuses. And once you go off into this adventure, it's there's requirements and things that'll be coming about, and we want to make sure that these departments are given the financial support that they need
I
to
appreciate
exist.
that very much. We're receiving some assistance from the Tennessee Board of Regents, but In addition to the $130,000 for salary and benefits this first year, we've also allocated $170,000 for operating.
It's good. And, you know, give them the equipment they need, and because I hope you never need them, but when you need them, you're gonna want them to, you're gonna want them to have everything that they need. Any questions of the board? Sitting right behind you.
Would you like to hear from the chief?
Yeah.
Chief Peeler?
Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Mike Peeler here. Want to thank you for this opportunity to hear from us. I came here in the basic police school in 2016. See one of my instructors, law and E-Block, where I became a pro driver. He actually gave me some tutoring. But been in law enforcement ever since. I started with Springfield Police Department. After retiring from the Army, I retired from the Army, I think a week before I was hired, 7 days before I was hired at Springfield Police Department. I was an artillery officer. My last job was at Fort Campbell. I was the current operations officer for the division. And so throughout my nearly 27 years of military experience, I did a lot of things. I commanded the 82nd Airborne Division. As a paratrooper, jump master, did overseas, did some special things over there, and then ended up at Fort Campbell. Before retiring, I was with the Rocket Sun Stir Brigade 187 as the Brigade Fire Support Coordinator and the Brigade Fire Support Officer. Again, I did a little training, Ranger qualified, jump master, and so again, that was those fun jobs that I did both here and abroad in the Army. I started out in the Tennessee Army National Guard, graduated from UT Martin. That's where I got my commission. While I was in the Command General Staff College at Leavenworth, Kansas, I also finished my master's degree at Kansas State University. Happily married to my college sweetheart from UT Martin. We have 2 adult children, which our oldest is a sailor in the United States Navy. And so service is what I do, what I enjoy doing. And when I got the call, after relocating to West Tennessee, I had to relocate. My dad fell ill, and then eventually a few months later, he passed on. And so my wife is also from West Tennessee, and we wanted to be closer to home. So again, thank you. Any other questions of me?
Yeah, when did you graduate from UT Martin?
December 95.
Who does UT Martin play this weekend?
That's what you gotta ask.
Every ball is so that's gonna be a hard one for me. So, but I don't know.
We appreciate your service.
Thank you.
One of the UTs will win. UT's gonna win.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. So it's a win-win situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. It's a long trip. Y'all get Mr. Isbell to stop and buy your lunch on the way back to West Tennessee.
And he's taking care of me. He's teaching me. So he's really working with me.
Well, it sounds to me like you might be able to help him a little bit.
And that's what we're looking for.
Thank you. Any other questions of the board members? Any other business?
Do we need to, is there anything we need to prove on this? Or?
No. No. Any other business of the board before we adjourn? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Also moved. All in favor, stand up and leave. Thank you.
Well, Chief Isbell, now you've got a retirement job out there.
All right.
Sheriff, I apologize. I took a new phone. I thought I had. I don't know. I don't know about this.